I'm a children's continence nurse specialist, but what I'm going to talk about today can relate to all age groups. It's just a case of thinking, oh, how can I adapt this to my situation? The picture up the top there is of my son. We adopted him, and his behaviour was quite challenging. As I say, he was diagnosed with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And yes, my professional job as a nurse has had its ups and downs, but I could say looking after a child with challenging behaviours, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, has been a far, far bigger and more challenging job. And what I have learned from him has made me a better nurse, a better person, but also, working with individuals with additional needs, because I have kind of been on that journey and been through the school of hard knocks and got the T-shirt. So I kind of know where a lot of families are. Why KEY? Okay? And really, it's knowledge empowers you. And I always, once I knew about my son's diagnosis, I thought, I've got to know everything about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And really it was a case of once you know better, you do better. So this is why I called it the KEY Continence Programme. So what are the aims? Okay, it's to equip you with practical knowledge and tools to support anyone who has additional physical, sensory, developmental, learning, behaviour. It's diverse. And I think I've met just about, every single thing over the 20 years and had to think outside the square. How can I help this family improve their child or person's quality of life? What we're going to try and cover today is going through the principles which will overarch all of the other sessions, all of the other talks. So we'll go through the key continence principles, why continence matters. We've got to know what healthy is before we know what unhealthy is. And the overall toilet training principles. And the biggie, constipation. Okay, 1 in 3 have issues. 1 in 3 people have issues with constipation. And then my framework, that again is a nursing framework that I have changed a little bit and made it the soapier framework. Let's get soapy. All right, and then just some really good case studies at the end, specific toileting challenges. When we're dealing with individuals with bowel and bladder problems, it is particularly embarrassing. It's not something that you would want to openly share, Paul. So it is about, partnership, working with them to meet their continence needs. It is about protecting these individuals because they are very vulnerable and they may not be able to actually speak up for themselves. They may not be able to tell you because they've got communication deficits. Okay, or they may be, if I do say something, that person's going to get angry with me. Okay, and participation. If they can help you in any way, then you need to get, even if it takes longer, then they need to be able to participate. That you're not just doing things on the person, and always to try and make them feel that they can actually help in some way. We really do need to bring this up as about human rights. okay? And the rights to be treated with respect and dignity and effective communication. A number of years ago, it's probably about 5 years ago now, I broke my leg in 3 places. And I couldn't walk for a long period of time, couldn't wait there. And I needed help with showering. And so I had a carer there. And, you know, I just felt really embarrassed and vulnerable, exposing myself. But this carer was really in tune, okay, and respected my dignity by giving me a flannel. Would you like to put that over your front part? And that just made me feel less embarrassed, less vulnerable. So it is just, you know, thinking about, even though they may not be able to talk, just put yourself in their shoes. Okay, how would you feel if you were in that situation? This was and I've known this girl, she's now about 20, but she's never forgotten when she was 6 and at school with spina bifida, and she had pull-ups on, and she did have a teacher aide, and she needed help, and that teacher aide would come in and just say, oh, you know, come on, you stink, let's go and get changed. How would you feel? How would you feel? And it upset her so deeply that in the end, she landed up getting her mum homeschooled her because they were struggling and her continence needs were not being met. Okay, principle number 3. It is a whole body, whole person, whole family and whole community approach. Some of the families that I support with children that have got complex needs, there could be 12 different agencies involved in that child. And I remember when my son was young, that I remember being in a room with 12 people. And it was quite daunting. It was actually, you know, quite daunting. But really, we've got to, you know, involve the more complex the issues or the complex the child or the individual has, the disability, the more that you actually need in that circle of support. And the thing is that, you know, that to make things go well, we want all the sides and the roof of the house to be strong. And sometimes they are not. And that's when, you know, other agencies need to come in and support these families. Now, this is my 7 Ps. And we adapt it to the person. I've used this in all of my paediatric nursing. I did a specific registered sick children's nursing course down in Birmingham. And they worked a lot on play, therapeutic play, and the child development skills. And the most important one for me and the job that I do is play. I have lots of toys that I have. So we've got Mr. Pooh here, okay? So I do talk to the child, that's Mr. Pooh, all right? And little Miss Wee, okay? And that we talk about Happy Pooh, we talk about Sad Pooh. But really, remember this, okay, is that play, P, when they're learning a new skill, it provides normality for the person when dealing with any sort of change or procedure. It lessens their anxiety about the change that's about to happen, and it allows the person to work through that change in a safe way, and it yields results every single time. These are some quotes from a specialist school. You know, and I was just in at a local special school near me last week, and toileting and improving the child's continence is very high on their priority, because it really does make a huge difference to their education, to their self-esteem, to their social interaction with their peers. And it's about getting to know them as well, all right? And they were, when I was out at this school and we were going through this toileting plan for a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome, and I had met them last October and worked through my plan, the SOPIA framework. And 5 months later, she's almost in undies. And the difference in this girl is just amazing, amazing. But again, it is hard work and it's commitment between the family and the school. I've always done this. This is in my brain when I've been working with my son all these years. Repetition, 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 and keep it the same, slow, short and simple. Whatever you do, you try and make the plan and the communication as simple as possible. And sometimes you just have 1 or 2 steps, okay, and you do that, and you know, but again, it might be a step too far, you might need to go back. And I always kind of say, and I've been like that on the journey with my son, is that you put some steps in place, because he wasn't fully continent until he was about 8 years of age. And even then, if he was going away on holiday or going on the scout camp, he would have soiling and wetting accidents because it was change, and he would get stressed and anxious. You know, it was just very slow steps. And there will be times, and I say is that that you will feel that you're failing at times. And fail, F-A-I-L, you've probably heard it as first attempt in learning. And often, I would put a plan in place with a family or whatever, and it didn't work. Okay, right, back to the drawing board. Let's go through it and let's see where we can change, where we could make, a difference. So, kiss, okay? And lots of kisses as well, if it's your child. All right, okay. And believe in better. Okay, have that hope. Believe that you could make a difference. And it might not be, there's different levels of what continence means. Okay? It could be fully independent, self-initiating. Okay, it could be semi-continence, where they need regular external prompts and support, maybe using a vibrating watch alarm, or somebody actually, tapping them on the shoulder. Or it could be continence with the support of the appropriate aid, the appropriate continence product or equipment. So yeah, believe that you can make a difference. This girl, she had spina bifida, another girl with spina bifida, and they do tend to be the ones that really struggle with their incontinence. And so, yeah, she had all these years of having to wear pads. They tried self-intermittent catheterisation, and she was getting at that age that I can't even wear nice tight leggings and things because I've got my bulky pull-up on. So she actually went through major surgery. She still has a pad, but she's able to manage her continence, manage her incontinence with a surgical sort of MACE, which is appendiciectomy. That's a tube that goes in to the colon, and she would do bowel flushes regularly, and she also had bladder augmentation surgery, which meant she had better control of her bladder as well. And the change in this girl, complete transformation, and it just made my day. And this is another thing to be aware of that I have come across. Don't just think a change in a person's behaviour is because of their medical condition or their neurodiversity. Don't think that at all. Think, and I have started to say, think bowels. Think bowels. Bowels and behaviour are really closely connected. And if they have got a blocked bowel, major problems, stool retention, fecal loading, imagine how they are feeling. But they cannot tell you how they're feeling. And I've had some parents come into my clinic in tears because the pre-poo child, like they're just, you can't do anything with them, they can't go anywhere, they can't go and see families because their whole body is just so tensed up and just so angry and upset, but they can't express it. Some kids, adults will be like flapping hands. So if if you think there's the person you're caring for, the child you're caring for, if there's something that they're just not right, but they can't express it, then just think, could it be their bowels? Okay? Could it be their bladder? I'm hoping that education and empowering, and I try and empower families every single day, and usually after 3 or 4 visits to my clinic, I say, this is wonderful. You're an expert on your child, okay? So from what you learn today, go out and use it, okay? Once you know better, you do better. I want to just tell you about what has kept me doing this job, what has kept the passion for this job going. And I mentioned at the beginning that people get abused, okay, who have incontinence. And this is a story that I realised, oh my gosh, kids that wet in soil, it's not life-threatening, but it is huge life-limiting and really huge impact on the child's emotional well-being. And I deal with a lot of kids that have been traumatised. And I've got a 12-year-old at the moment who was never toilet trained because he came from a home that it was just drugs and alcohol. But this particular lad, and this is when I first started on my journey as a bowel management nurse. I thought, you think I've got it all. I've done all the training. I've got it there from the UK, and And I went into this lad. It was on the children's ward, a 10-year-old boy, And the mum and dad were there, and I said, "Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm a bowel management nurse, and I'm just going to talk about what's going to happen while you're in the ward, and then I'll be following you up on discharge." And the dad said, "You know, I hope you get them sorted." And he was really quite, you know, I went, "Oh, I'm sure, you know, well, we've been here before, and I'm really, you know, he's 10 years of age, he's just lazy. And if he keeps pooing in his pants, I'm going to rub his nose in it." And this was in front of his boy, and this boy's just, you know, and I said, "Right, come on, right." I said, "Right, I've got to get them out of this room." I said, "Right, you know, come with me and we'll talk about how you're feeling. I could understand why you are frustrated that your child is pooing in his undies at an age he should not be doing this. I could understand, because I've had it with my own boy." Okay, and we sat down for a whole hour, and I went through the cycle of constipation, and it's not your fault and everything. And I worked really hard on this family and did home visits and everything. And, you know, things came right. And I thought, "Oh, I've done well there, did all right there, got this sorted." Well, 10 years later, I was actually doing a talk on fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And at the end, this young man came up to me and he said, "Do you not know who I am, Lisa?" And I said, "No, I don't." He said, "I was that 10-year-old boy in the ward, and literally, because of what how you helped my mum and dad understand the problem that I had, that you turned my life around." And I just got goosebumps. I still, when I'm talking about it, I got good. And so, you know, he was not being physically abused. He was being emotionally abused, and the relationship between his father was awful. You know, and I just said, "Have you got a bit?" We're all good now. My dad and I, we're all good now. And it's like, that is just, you know, so that is why I do what I do, and that is why I want to share the magic with everybody here, so that you could go out and get a story like that. This is my boy, Aaron, and that was when he was 11. And often when he went on scout camp, he would have accidents, but he had amazing scout leaders around him. And this story, like, he looks entirely normal. And you know, they had this task that they had to pack all their stuff into their backpack, and they had to walk a couple of kilometres down this track. And he was quite a wee lad, so he stuffed it all in and and he put it on his back, and he just fell backwards like a turtle with the feet in the air. And he was and all the rest were laughing at him, you know, and my son didn't, you know. I thought, oh, you know, but the scout leader said, "It's all right, Aaron. It's all right, Aaron." Okay, and what they did is that they put that piece of wood through the top of his backpack, and they supported him. They didn't do it for him. They supported him so that he could achieve, all right, and walk down that road. And again, that's invisible. A lot of these people that have got invisible disabilities need what we call an invisible wheelchair, invisible scaffolding. And so really it is meeting the person where they're at, not where the world expects them to be. You know, we all expect kids to be continent by the age of 5. But again, we go by their developmental age rather than their chronological age. Okay, there is no magic recipe. Okay, I have this in my clinic. I bring this wand up as there's no magic recipe. Every person is unique, and we have to find the recipe that fits them. Okay, and it has to be hard work. Continence is possible, all right, for a lot of people that often get, "Oh, yeah, they've got autism and they've got intellectual impairment, just keep them in pull-ups. That's what I hear a lot. Okay? It's all right when they're 5 or 6, but it's not all right when they're 16, 20, 30. It's not okay. We've got to do better than that, and for every individual to get them to the best level of continence that they are able to achieve. But there are always going to be those that are below the mental age of 2 years, okay? Generally, the neural pathways for continence, should be starting to develop between 18 to 24 months of age. But there, as I say, there's a lot of things that can be done, okay? Yeah, this will be the only facts that you'll have in this whole talk. As I say, 1 in 6 are disabled. Down syndrome kids are 70% more likely to have problems with their bowels and bladder. Okay, they're more prone to constipation and celiac disease, and also renal problems as well. And people with additional needs are 4 times more likely because of the brain bottom disconnect. And the lower a person's IQ, the higher the rate of constipation. Okay, that they have not often got that ability to understand, I've got a full rectum, what do I need to do? Factors affecting continence success. There are many. Most of us don't actually drink enough. And a lot of kids that I see, some might only be drinking a cup of water a day. Well, no wonder they've got constipation. No wonder they've got daytime waiting, because they're not hydrated. They're not making their bowels and bladder function, well enough. Previous experiences. Just last week, I was out at a wee lad, and the foster carer is saying, I just can't get him to sit on the toilet. He things the toilet lid up, and then he sits balanced, perched on the toilet rim. And it turned out, when I quizzed the social worker and the foster carer, that in his birth in his own home, that the toilet seat was really wobbly and he fell off it, and that put him off the toilet seat. The impact of incontinence. Okay, so physical. This girl that I've known for years with spina bifida, she was in and out of hospital all the time. She had urine infections. The expenses of like having to change wet beds, the cost of the products. Often most DHBs only provide maybe 2 products a day, which sometimes is not enough, okay? The cost on the health system, okay, for repeated hospitalisations. The social aspect, the stigma. A lot of families that I've worked with really don't tend to go on to family outings or barbecues, because they will get comments, oh, is he not out on nappies yet? And environmental. Okay, the cost of the continence, disposing of these continence products. How much do you think it costs? 14.9 million to get rid of continence products.